What's up, everybody? I'm back, and I'm talking about banned DEI programs and what's next for organizations in anti-DEI states when DEI is currently under attack, and how can companies in anti-DEI states still promote inclusion. Let's say you're in a company where you're in a state where the government is throwing a temper tantrum over DEI. Laws are being passed to block DEI initiatives, and now HR and leadership are shaking in their boots trying to figure out, what do we do next? Well, guess what? I'm here to tell you still have options. Let's talk about how to stay compliant without rolling over and playing dead. Here's what's happening. First, let me be clear. These anti-DEI laws aren't about fairness or equality. They are coordinated strategic attacks in progress. Florida, with Ron DeSantis and the Stop Woke Act, bans corporate diversity training that makes people uncomfortable. Translation: if white folks have to hear about racism, it should be illegal. Now you have Texas, Oklahoma, and Alabama. State contracts now forbid companies from using DEI policies in hiring. Texas and Georgia, colleges and public institutions can't require DEI training for staff or students. And more states are joining. And this ain't random, y'all. Right-wing think tanks are copying and pasting these laws nationwide. The goal is to scare companies into self-censoring and dropping DEI together. But we have to be smarter than that and figure out how to make DEI more sustainable and less vulnerable to attacks. So what can we do? Corporate leaders, HR professionals, and diversity champions, y'all gotta be creative. The laws are broad and intentionally vague to create fear, but there are still ways to do the work, and here's how. You gotta shift the language, for example, from DEI to just business operations. Instead of calling it DEI training, frame it as leadership and staff development, workplace culture, and legal compliance, because inclusion reduces lawsuits and turnover. Example, bias training could be fair hiring and decision-making training. Affinity groups, we can call them employee resource networks. And I know some of y'all aren't into changing the language, but this is about survival and thrival. So make DEI about talent and retention. Companies can't be sued for recruiting broadly just because you use race and gender explicitly in hiring decisions. Expand pipeline programs, partnerships, and outreach to diverse candidates, but call it widening pool talents or talent pools. DEI embedded in your values. Shift from DEI from policy to practice and make inclusion a core value of your company rather than a standalone program. No law can stop you from mentoring employees, advocating for pay equity, or promoting leaders of color who are qualified. Support external DEI-oriented groups. If you can't push DEI internally, fund it externally. Support scholarships, nonprofits, and legal defense organizations that fight for equality and equity. Keep up the pressure. Quietly if needed, if public DEI statements will get you sued, work behind the scenes from coalitions and companies to push back on bad policies altogether, because one company speaking out is a target for anyone, but 50 is harder to target. The law can restrict how you talk about DEI, but it can't stop you from building a culture of inclusion. So stop being scared and start being strategic. Don't just fight back, y'all. Adapt. Vote in every local election. The state bans didn't come from anywhere, but from state legislators and governors who adopted these executive orders. If your job values DEI and you want to invest in policy and advocacy, now's the time to start. If your CEO or executives are being silent, hold them accountable. Ask them what's their plan for maintaining an inclusive environment. Public pressure to companies works, okay, because they don't hire diverse talent overnight. Support DEI organizations. The ACLU, NAACP, and civil rights orgs are already fighting these laws. Go support them. Boycott anti-DEI companies. What's happening in your state? Let me know, y'all. Tell me how your job is handling these restrictions. And if they're folding instead of fighting, maybe it's time to find a new workplace. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel because we're not done yet. We need more tactical advice. Let's keep the conversation going. I'll see y'all soon.